Are you tired of your bread making turning into a disaster? Well, introducing St. John's Sourdough Starter Kit, the easiest way to make sourdough bread all in your own home.
Hey there, my name's Sam Lundquist. I am your pastoral resident. Now, hey, have you ever wanted to make delicious sourdough bread of your own right at home? Well, we've made it super easy because we cooked up something special just for you. The St. John's Sourdough Bread Making Kit. It's got everything you need to make amazing sourdough communion bread so we can celebrate together. Let's see what you'll get.
Every St. John's sourdough kit comes with step-by-step instructions that you can follow to make sure your bread turns out great. Plus, you'll get a packet of yeast to give your bread an extra little kick. And of course, the good stuff, a 150-year-old sourdough starter that's our secret ingredient. Just add a little flour and water, and in a few hours, you'll have a beautiful loaf of sourdough bread. Stop worrying, we've made it easy. Email us today to get your very own St. John's Sourdough Bread Making Kit.
Oh God, will my prayers be in vain? Why must I languish in sorrow and pain? Do not abandon the child you have made. You are my shelter, my solace and shade. When evil prospers and hope is long gone, do not forsake me, your presence withdrawn. Shield and protect those who call on your name. You are my God, and your blessing I claim. Early and late will my tongue sing your praise. You will uphold me the length of my days. You are the stronghold for all the oppressed. Hear us, O God, let your people be blessed.
Welcome to St. John's Worship. Throughout the month of May, we are focusing on the Psalms. And we began with Psalms of praise. And one of the easiest ways to recognize a praise psalm is by 3 words: praise the Lord. Turns out that it is just as easy to identify a lament psalm with also just 3 words. How long, Lord? It's the biblical version of, are we there yet? And if you've ever been on a long road trip, especially before the age of technology, that one question, are we there yet, is the lament of any child or exacerbated backseater who has no control over what is being played on the radio and just gets to sit there. Well, in life, we are on a different kind of a journey, one filled with ups and downs. The question, how long, Lord, is the release valve to all the pressure of anxiety, fear, sadness, and anger we have inside. The question is intended to verify that God hasn't forgotten us, to double check that God does know where God is going, right? It's a question that comes with hand signals.
How long, O Lord?
How long, O Lord?
How long, Lord? Or
How long, O Lord?
how long, Lord? Or
How long, O Lord?
How long, O Lord?
Or even how long, Lord? Now you can imagine that lament psalms are not as popular to read as the praise psalms, but by not reading them, we miss out on a cathartic opportunity to let it all out. Not just alone, but together. When we do it together, we come to realize that it's not just us who's going through this. I'm not crazy or weak because I feel this way. It is a natural human response to sometimes name the unbearable situations that we are journeying through in this life. So hopefully, today's worship will give us an opportunity to sit in the lament and know that God hears us. Since Psalms is an amalgamation of song, prayers, and poems, let us begin by praying in lament together, by singing and hearing the scripture and praying.
How long will you forget me, Lord? Forever? How long will you hide your face from me?
Truly, Lord, how long? How long will this go on? How long must I remain sheltered in place? A month? A summer? Surely not longer. How long until I can see my family, my friends, or just anybody without a mask, without fear, without the ability to greet with a touch, a handshake, a hug, an embrace? How long, O Lord, until I can go to my favorite restaurant or coffee shop, go to the movies or symphony with friends, freely walk down a street or hang out at a park, or go to the church to hear the music, God's word, and see God's people? How long before I can fully enjoy your creation, the one you called good? How long before it will be safe to breathe? Just breathe.
How long will I be left to my own wits, agony filling my heart? Daily? How long will my enemy keep defeating me?
How long, Lord? How long will this sadness and loneliness be my only companion? Forget how long, how many? How many people have to die before our leaders take the necessary steps to protect all people? Not just for the privileged, not just for the money, not just for the votes, but for the hungry, the immigrant, the homeless, the essential worker working for minimum wage, the uninsured, the senior, the child, the ones who can't afford to stay home, the ones who fear losing everything, the ones who have already lost so much. For ones like Ahmaud Arbery, whose life was taken unjustly. Surely 2 months is too long to see justice.
Look at me. Answer me, Lord my God. Restore sight to my eyes. Otherwise, I'll sleep the sleep of death, and my enemy will say, I won. My foes will rejoice over my downfall.
Hear me, Lord. My questions are not rhetorical. They beg a response. Any response, a sign, a light, a glimpse of the end. Or at the very least, help me not be consumed with what I see in the news so that I may be able to get a good night's sleep or keep the crazy dreams at bay. May I take in and search and discover things that bring in light so that the darkness only arrives when it's time to sleep.
But I have trusted in your faithful love. My heart will rejoice in your salvation. Yes, I will sing to the Lord because he has been good to me.
From the depths of my lament, may I know your peace, the kind of peace that walks on water, that stills the storm, that fills our jars to the brim with the finest wines, the kind of peace that brings sight to the blind, restores hearing to the deaf, and tells the lame to rise up and go home. The kind of peace that comes to a tomb and renders it empty. How long, O Lord? I do not know, but may I know this, that kind of peace where hearts never need be troubled, where there's nothing to fear, nothing. Where none of those things which usher in the valley of the shadow of death can usher in even an ounce of fear. Psalm 13 is known as prayer for help. It is a prayer for when the bottom drops out. A pretty common scenario considering that roughly a third of the Psalms are prayers of help. These Psalms cry out from the deepest moments of human pain, but they do so in a way that also clings to God's promise of being ever present and carrying us through to a new day. These Psalms name the disorientation of how we feel, admitting that life is not well ordered or as simple. In fact, life is messy. And so these Psalms protest to God that life should not be as they are. Lament Psalms aren't just vacant complaints. They evoke action from God. They demand an answer from God. These prayers help move us, the one praying, to a new place. Praying these kinds of Psalms is an action of great faith because it means we acknowledge that God is big enough for everything we've got. Our pain, our anguish, our questions, our doubts, our indifference, and our anger. During this time that we are going through, it may be scary to pray these kinds of prayers because we're trying our best to stay positive, to be productive, and keep our head up. However, we must do it. Our bodies ache for it. If we truly want to feel the width of God's faithfulness, we must allow ourselves to express the depths of our lament. There's a freedom. There's a freedom when we fully say what's on our hearts, knowing God holds all of it and that Jesus personally endured it all and much more. And so I want to read a children's book. It's called The Heart and the Bottle. And it's about a girl who protects her heart by putting it in a bottle, yet by doing so, she misses out on other things that the world has to offer. So listen to today's story. Once there was a girl, much like any other, whose head was filled with all the curiosities of the world, with thoughts of the stars, with wonder at the sea. She took delight in finding new things. Until the day she found an empty chair. Feeling unsure, the girl thought the best thing was to put her heart in a safe place, just for the time being. So she put it in a bottle and hung it around her neck. And that seemed to fix things, at first. Although in truth, nothing was the same. She forgot about the stars and stopped taking notice of the sea. She was no longer filled with all the curiosities of the world and didn't take much notice of anything, other than how heavy and awkward the bottle had become. But at least her heart was safe. It might never have occurred to the girl what to do had she not met someone smaller and still curious about the world. There was a time when the girl would have known how to answer her, but not now, not without her heart. And it was right at that moment she decided to get it back out of the bottle. But she didn't know how. She couldn't remember. And nothing seemed to work. The bottle couldn't be broken. It just bounced and rolled right down to the sea. But there it occurred to someone smaller and still curious about the world that she might know a way. And it just so happened she did. The heart was put back where it came from, and the chair wasn't so empty anymore. But the bottle was. Just like the girl found out, protecting her heart from the things that she didn't want to feel ended up protecting her heart from much more than that. It protected her from the curiosities and wonder and joy as well. Our minds do a good job of getting us through some difficult times, and we can often rationalize and problem solve our ways through. But eventually the heart and the body, they catch up. In the Korean language, the word for heart and mind is just one word, maum. That to experience the fullness of life, both heart and mind need to be in sync. That's what both Psalms of Praise and Lament do. They give expression to the whole range of life's experiences, both the heart and the mind. Last week we heard the choir sing, "Surely God is in this place," with only the soprano or melody line. And today we will hear the choir sing the very same song, but only the bass line. That if the tone of the soprano decides how the choir will sound as a whole, the bass section often is the foundation of the harmonic structure of a choral piece. The bass adds depth to the melody. It lays the pavement with no flashy high notes, nothing fancy. It just gets the job done. The sound of the bass is honest. You get what you get. Psalms of Lament is the same way. It gives depth to our psalms of praise. In fact, it is the foundation of our praise. Because God has been with us through the shadows of the valley of death, our praise is not based on empty words, but real life experience. Lament has no patience or tolerance for flashy high notes. It gets straight to the point. How long, Lord? So as you hear the choir sing, let the sound of the bass tone give voice to all that your body, your Mom, your heart and mind laments.
Surely God is in this place, holy ground. Surely God is in this place, holy ground. Surely God is in this place, holy ground. Surely God is in this place, holy ground.
We couldn't have worship without acknowledging that today is also Mother's Day. And if you ask my husband, one thing he will say about me is that I'm not much of a romantic. I typically don't celebrate things like Mother's Day, not for any philosophical reason, mostly because it doesn't occur to me. Heck, I have 2 wedding anniversary dates, and I successfully manage to forget both of them every year. However, I do realize how this day, Mother's Day, can be a complicated one. And to be honest, I purposely paired Mother's Day with the Psalm of Lament. Not because kids asking, "Are we there yet?" is music to our ears, but because I know in many of our lives, women in general, have been the base, the foundation of how we interpret the world. Psalms of Lament is also fitting on this day because Mother's Day holds a lot of mixed emotions for people. But if history tells us anything, we know that Mother's Day is not just a day to appreciate mothers with homemade brunch and a day of lounging, well, maybe half a day. It has the beginnings of organizing women to combat unsanitary living conditions and teach young women how to safely care for their children. That this day has its roots in celebrating peace by advocating to eradicate war, knowing that women and children are often the biggest victims. This day was created by women because only from the voices of women could we protect ourselves and tell our own stories. Author Rachel Held Evans says, "We are storytelling people created by a storytelling God. Our bodies carry many stories, and it will carry this pandemic experience as well." So before we close, with the pictures that you all have sent in to honor the women in your lives, mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunts, friends, colleagues, mentors, heroes, I want to share with you this poem written by Amy Young called Beyond the Surface of Mothering. In the Bible are the stories of God's people. And while we have to dig a little deeper and read in between the lines, there are stories of many faithful women who hold the depth, width, and breadth of life. Listen to the stories of these women, and maybe one of them resonates with your own story. Forgive us when we assume that what we see on the surface is all there is to your story. We know in our midst there are women and mothers who, like Eve, have children with serious rivalry. Like Hagar, have been discarded for a new family and are mothering alone. Like Naomi, have tasted the bitterness of a child's death. Like the mother of Leah and Rachel, knows what it's like to have one child favored over another by society. Like Hannah, have been separated from your child at a young age. And like Mary, have a complicated pregnancy story. Or like Tamar, have tried multiple ways to become a mother. Or like Rachel, have counted the months and years while other women in your family and circle of friends become pregnant. Who, like Rebecca, are drawn to one of your children more than the others. Like David's mother is raising children after God's heart, and though you rejoice in watching them, don't want to rub it in friends' faces. Like Ham's mother, have children whose substance abuse can cause problems. Like Bathsheba, have sick children who may die. Like Joseph and Benjamin, experience the death of their mother. And like Mary, have children with public legal situations, and all you can do is watch. Like the Shunammite woman, when told by Elisha she would become pregnant, replied, "No, please do not mislead your servant." Like her, not wanting to open doors to hope, only to have them slammed in your face. Like Hannah, have known the provoking of a family member. Like many, watched their mothers age and waste before their eyes. Like Moses' mother reluctantly gave up her child because it wasn't safe for you to bring her child up herself. Or who, like Pharaoh's daughter, were called to love and nurture children that weren't yours by birth. Like Timothy's mother and grandmother, are steadily and without much fanfare or recognition teaching your children about the truths of God, sowing seeds for eternity. Like the unnamed women who never quite fit into the norms of society, either never marrying or having children, yet wanting to. You are in our midst. We are called to be a people who rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. Today, our stage is big enough to do both. For the seen and known joys of motherhood, we rejoice and smile and celebrate with you. For the seen and known suffering in motherhood, we ache with you. For the private, unseen, and unknown joys of motherhood, like Mary, may you treasure them in your hearts. And for the private, unseen, and unknown sorrows and suffering of motherhood, may you know you don't always have to be happy in our midst. You are engraved on the palms of God, both the seen and unseen, held together by God.
When I think about your love, I close my eyes, let it surround me. Though I just don't understand how to let you love me. It's not something I could earn, yet it's something that you freely give. All you simply ask of me, be still and let you love me. So I will let you love me. I am here with open hands. All I need is you again. No, I won't move. Let my soul be still. So I will let you love me. Yeah, I will let you love me. Oh, oh, oh. When I think about your love, all the stars light up around me. I feel your presence in the wind, and I know that you love me. So I will let you love me. I am here with open hands. All I need is you again. No, I won't move. Let my soul be still. So I will let you love me. Yes, I will let you love